Hello everyone, it's Thursday. So earlier on in Vlent, I talked with you all about what I call the 3 pillars of the faith: prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. We first talked about fasting and how the act of self-denial can lead us to have better control of our own bodies, as well as acknowledge the goodness of the things that we are blessed to have, like food or technology. We then talked about almsgiving, the reaching out and the blessing of someone else, whether that's through some monetary donation to a charitable organization or just spending time with someone else. The last pillar that we need to discuss, and one that I would argue is probably the most important, is prayer. And the purpose of prayer, at least to any religious person, can be defined simply as a conversation with God. As a child, when I would think of prayer, I would often think of those rote prayers that we all learned in elementary school, like the Our Father and the Hail Mary. I also thought that prayer didn't work unless I said the words exactly as I had learned them, or if I strayed from my normal routine, either in the morning or at night. I was also, at some point in my life, extremely uncomfortable with praying in public places, even in my own Catholic high school. Mostly because I think that I and a lot of the people around me didn't really take prayer very seriously. Like, I remember one instance when I was in high school and we had to pray before we had lunch, and the cafeteria moderators would wait for all of us to be silent before we could start the prayer. By the time that we got to the sign of the cross the second time, everyone had already started to talk again, and one of the cafeteria moderators just let loose on us over the microphone, and we had to say the prayer again. Basically, my prayer life from high school up through early college was limited to going to Mass before I ate and at night before I went to bed. Then once I got to college, it pretty much became only when I went to Mass. I didn't really see the value in prayer until later on in college, when I came to realize that prayer in its nature is meant to be a conversation with God. I came to know so many individuals who were so good at prayer, and spontaneous prayer at that. I had never heard of something like that before. Now, as someone who thought that his way of worshiping was better than everyone else's, I would often silently judge those people who would ramble on in their spontaneous prayer, because to me, it never seemed truly genuine. Now, who am I to judge someone else's prayer? As human beings, we are all different, and therefore, we're going to pray differently. The important part that I'm trying to get at here is that if we call ourselves Christians, prayer must be a part of our daily lives. Jesus tells us to pray unceasingly, which translates to pray always. It's how we communicate with God, and as long as we are genuine and sincere in our prayers, God will hear us. I have come great lengths in my own prayer life, especially since I've moved to Toledo. One of the things that I need to continually remind myself of, though, is that God does hear my prayers, even if I think He doesn't. A good friend of mine once shared with me that God can answer our prayers in 3 different ways. The first one, which is the way that all of us want to hear, is yes, but the other 2 sometimes get translated to no, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Sometimes when we present something to God in prayer and He doesn't grant us with that blessing or grace, He's answering us in one of the following responses: not right now, or I have something better. We need to trust that God not only hears our prayers, but also that He has a will for us. We also need to listen to Him when He speaks, because, like I said earlier, prayer is meant to be a conversation between us and the God of the universe. Trust in Him, pray unceasingly, and believe that He will hear us in our time of need. God bless you all. I'll see you tomorrow.